The DJI Mini 3 was released in December of 2022, and in this video we're going to discuss if it's the right drone for you and still worth picking up. I recently did a video about the Mini SE2, and then I thought to myself, that one was like so popular and you guys had a lot of questions about it. Why not talk about the successor, the Mini 3? And there are definitely some notable upgrades, so make sure you stick around till the end of the video. Before we get into the pros, the cons, and the verdict, I just want to say that all of the photos and videos that I use straight out of the drone, I should say, will be in the description below for you to play around with the footage. The first pro that I'm excited to talk about on the Mini 3 is the low light capabilities, and that's like a combination of factors, but the biggest one is that the lens is now upgraded with an aperture of 1.7. It just means that it allows in more light, even though it is a smaller sensor than some of the other DJI drones. And because of that, it allows for us to shoot at a lower ISO, getting a sharper, cleaner image and less muddy looking. The other part of its low light performance is that it has two native ISOs. So the first one is at 100 ISO. And if you don't know, you just get the cleanest image the lower ISO you go. But what happens with this drone is if you go to ISO 500, it resets itself. So there's another baseline ISO, so you get the best clear image at 100, but you also get it again at 500. And as you introduce from there, more and more noise would come. But at 800, at a 1.7 aperture at night, you should actually get some really decent low light results. The second pro I want to talk about has nothing to do with the drone itself, but this here is the RC-N1 controller that comes with the Mini 3, but also if you pay a little bit more money, which I was super excited about, you get the RC controller. Now this is not the pro one, but you do get really good quality out of this thing. You can set custom buttons, better thumbsticks, and you don't have to deal with your phone plugging it in. It's cumbersome. Sometimes your battery's dying and then you're like, well, will my controller charge my phone in time before the flight is over? So there's like all those kind of worries. So for me, having this controller is actually a game changer. Really quick, I just want to let you know that I'm giving away a free 30-minute coaching call. We can talk about camera gear, how to dial that in. We can talk about your photography business and maybe you want to grow it from just a hobby. We can talk about growing a YouTube channel. Maybe you want to go that direction. But however I can help, all you got to do is leave a like, leave a comment below on how I can help you most, and let's dive back into the video. Point number 3 is that this thing is rated for 7 to 10 kilometers, which is actually insane. I've never actually checked that, so why don't I take it out right now and we'll quickly double check what real world use is. But because I sport moded and tried to see like how far I could get on a signal, which was only really about like 1,500 meters. Point number 4 is native vertical shooting. So it's so funny that in 2017, when I first started flying drones, I had the first ever Mavic Pro, and that had the ability to go vertical. So you could switch from horizontal to vertical. Now, ever since then, I've been upgrading my drones, and I've had so many throughout the years, but never have I had vertical integration back in with my camera sensor or my drone sensor. So it's super nice to see that back because, for instance, this weekend I'm going to Tofino. I'm shooting for a beverage company and they want reels only. So I want to definitely incorporate some drone footage, and being able to just like see your aspect ratio, not have to worry about cropping in post, and just getting like the best possible quality is really nice. So I'm excited to shoot vertical with the Mini 3 there. Point number 5 is that this drone actually shoots really good 4K, and if you buy something like the Mini 2 SE, you're restricted to 2.7K, which is fine, but the bigger difference to me is that this shoots in HDR, so you get better dynamic range and more retention in the clouds, the highlights, the shadows, those kind of things. Whereas if you buy something a little bit more inexpensive, you get SDR video. And by doing that, you're just not getting the best possible quality in the highlights and shadows. Point number 6, if you've never seen any of my other videos, I travel a fair amount, and it's really important to me to have like a small, light, compact drone that I could bring with me. I even brought one to Jordan, hid it in my sock, and was able to sneak it into the country. They're literally that small. So I love how small this Mini series of drone is. Point number 7 is that you can charge this thing on the go, which is amazing. It's USB-C. You can have a portable power bank. You take your plug, you plug it in, and recharge the battery while you're traveling. So that's really cool. For me, I have the Air 2S as well, and that's a little bit cumbersome to charge. I have the Fly More combo because of that. And essentially what you need a wall plug, a triple charger. It takes some time, all that kind of stuff. But if you try and just plug in the USB-C to the 2S, it's not going to work in charging it, but you can do that with these smaller, lighter weight drones. The next point is that the Mini 3 shoots raw photos, and for me, they shoot that in DNG format. It's nice to be able to color grade and add your own presets and things to your photos. With JPEG, you're kind of limited in what you can do with them. Next, I want to talk about battery life, because that's a huge pro for this drone, and you can get 38 minutes with the shipped battery that comes with it. But if you want to upgrade to like the Pro one, it makes your drone a little bit heavier, so you have to be mindful of that. But I think you get 51 minutes with that. So it's actually insane what they were able to do with the battery life on the Mini 3. If I was just in normal mode the whole time, I think I would have got definitely what was rated. But because I sport moded and tried to see like how far I could get on a signal, which was only really about like 1,500 meters away, and then I had to bring it back, I think that killed a lot of the battery pretty quick. Right now it's like battery's at 17. And I would say I got like 23 minutes out of that. I think we're on point number 10, but quick shots is actually a really cool way if you're a beginner flyer to just program the flight pattern and set it and forget it, then go. So you can do that, and you can do that in 4K up to 30 frames per second. Just let the drone do the work. You highlight the subject and then you're good to go. One of the last points I want to talk about is the price of this drone. If you buy it with the RC-N1 remote, you're gonna get it for about $419. It often goes on sale. So it's actually stupid cheap for what this drone is capable of. And the other one is if you want to spend a little bit extra money on the RC remote so you don't have to use your phone and plug that in, you can pick it up on sale often for $549 US. One last trippy thing I'll bring up is the actual camera and gimbal on this drone has the ability to pan upwards. I don't know necessarily when you would use that, but maybe it's a beautiful blue sky with like some nice clouds, and then you kick it in sport mode and you're filming upwards. I don't know. It's like, might be creative or a transition piece, but just thought I'd add it. We're gonna talk cons, so let's change the mood a bit. Try and go red with the light. See how this looks. Ooh. Okay, let's finish off this video. What are the cons? What are the bad things about this camera? And the first one that like I was a little bit heartbroken about was that it doesn't shoot log footage. And as a professional shooter, I often like to match my colors in post, and so this only has Rec 709, and you're missing out on a little bit of dynamic range there, but as mentioned, it does have the HDR. So it was demoralizing a little bit. Like, you have to buy the Pro and spend the extra money if you want log profiles. That being said, here's some Rec 709 footage from this drone, and let's color grade it a bit just to kind of see how much we can push these colors. The next con, and this isn't a deal breaker, but if you're using the RC remote with the Mini 3 and not the Pro, you're actually getting a different transmission to the actual screen. So you're getting 720p instead of 1080p. But in my opinion, it still looks great. Point number 3, make sure that you check that you have a micro SD card in the back of this drone before flying, because it has no internal storage like the Mini 3 Pro does. Point number 4, you might not even know what this is, but H.265 is a codec that you get better quality video and more efficient compression. You can't do that with this drone. You get H.264, which was like the standard for so long. In the Mini 3 Pro, you can actually like go to H.265 or H.264, that's up to you. But it's pretty much just better compression, slightly better quality. So just keep that in mind. And if you don't know what I just said, don't worry about it, because you still get amazing quality out of this drone. Con number 5 is that in high winds, you do need to be careful with all of these minis, whether you have the Mini 1, 2, 3, SE, whatever. It's just like the wind can take these pretty quick, and I experienced that in Greece and almost lost my Mini 2 SE. So just be mindful of that. If you are constantly flying in high winds, maybe the Mini series isn't for you. Point number 6 is that it has no collision sensors, and especially when you're flying sideways, this is like the most common way to crash a drone for a beginner. So be super careful about this. If you did want collision sensors, you can upgrade to the Pro. That's one of like the reasons for the price difference. Point number 7 is that you're still buying a pretty inexpensive drone, so you do have some compromises in terms of video quality, but for the majority of people, this is going to be like super high quality. Once they see it, they'll be, oh, this is totally fine. However, if you're a professional drone pilot and you're using it for like client projects and things like that, you're missing the ability to shoot log. It has a smaller sensor size than, you know, maybe something like the Air series or the Pro series. So just be mindful of that. This still is like an entry level drone a little bit, but I'm just like really surprised with the quality you can get out of it, and for 90% of the people out there, it's going to be totally fine. One of the last points is that it doesn't have active track. We talked about those quick shot modes, which you can like set it and forget it and program some things, but you can't just like lock onto a subject and be like, oh, go follow me now. You know what I mean? Now there is a workaround for this that you might want to know, but within one of the quick shot modes, essentially it like circles around you. If you don't actually let it and you like draw a box around yourself and you set it to the circle mode, and then you start walking and set the direction that you're walking, it's actually just gonna follow you. So I guess like that's one way to like hack it and have subject tracked work, but I don't think it's gonna work if you're just like walking straight. You need to be walking left or right, but I guess you can still make do. And the last con I want to talk about is if you need really slow motion, like something like 4K 60, you're not going to get that with this drone, but you do get 4K 30, which you can actually slow a little bit anyways. And I think that's all the cons. So with this drone being a 1.5 years old, who is it for? Well, first, if you're on a budget and you want good 4K quality, I think it's like a no-brainer. And especially if you want to save the extra money and just get the RC N1 remote, you're actually gonna pick this thing up for $419 US on sale, and I just think it's an incredible value for that. Also, if you want a budget drone in low light, I think this is like a really good option for that, because as I mentioned, all the things that go into this being a really good low light sensor camera. This drone is also for you if you don't care so much about color grading your footage, because this doesn't have log. I think that's like a really good use case as well for that. If the Mini 3 sounds amazing to you, but it's still not within your budget, I would highly recommend checking out. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for tuning in. Maddie out. Peace.